Hi, and thanks for joining me for the BarthCalderon Attorneys Boss Series. Today we're going to cover common issues from 1,000 advisors. My name is Bill Black. I've been a business planner since 1983. I'm a certified exit planner. I'm also the founder and host of the Exit Coach radio show and podcast, where I've interviewed over 1,000 business advisors for their tips, ideas, and precautions. I'm a speaker and author, and I'm also a frequent Fridays with Vistage moderator. Today we're going to talk about the common issues from over 1,000 business owners. And we've heard this as we've talked to over 500 CEO peer groups. We've had our ears open and we've listened to what those business owners had to say, what their concerns were. And I've also, as I said, interviewed over 1,000 business advisors, and I've heard what the common wisdom of those advisors is. And we find that most business owners are just too busy working to plan their futures. And we want to help our clients take more control of their business and become better business owners. So we developed this series. Today's topic, again, is common issues from 1,000 owners. We find that certain issues continuously rise to the top, and today we're going to talk about the top 10 issues that we hear commonly. And in future videos, we'll cover each of these areas in depth. First area is knowing your numbers. Now, I know most business owners understand their financial statements, their profit and loss, their balance sheet. They probably have a good idea what their dashboard indicator numbers are so they can monitor how their business is doing. But there's a couple numbers that we find most business owners don't have a good handle on. The current value of their business and the target value of their business for the day when they are ready to sell their business. And we find that it takes quite a bit of planning to get to that number. What we do when we want to find that number is we go into a financial planning program, an exercise, and we determine what their needs will be for income, what their current sources are and what their needs will be for income. And then we back into a number and gross it up for taxes to figure out what the business ultimately needs to sell for to support their lifestyle. Oftentimes that number is very different than the current valuation number, and it sets us in motion to close the gap between the current number and the target number. And it's the basis of all planning that we do when we're talking about succession and exit planning. Second issue we hear a lot is, I know I need to put together a team, but who should be on it and how do I control that team? It sounds a little silly to say how do I control that team, but it's a very serious issue. And what it means is that while you will need tax advisors and legal advisors, operations advisors and financial advisors and others on your team, it's not a good idea to let them just go off by themselves or come at you with ideas without some kind of an organized methodology. And we find that the best way that you can help to manage that is by having an organized planning document that specifies the facts of your business, the goals that you have, including timing, target, who's going to buy it, and what your treasure needs are, what I talked about earlier, what you need to get out of it. And then approach your advisors with a list of suggested strategies and bring them together to work as a team. It saves time and a lot of money and frustration. Third area is, how do I lock in my key employees? Now, it's a question we get from a lot of people who think that paying bonuses is one way to reward key employees, but the problem is it doesn't do a really good job at locking them in. What we're talking about are programs that both motivate key employees to help grow the business, act like an owner, and feel like they have a stake in the outcome, like they want to grow towards a goal and they're going to get rewarded for accomplishing that goal. And that goal should be to build the value of your business over time. So there are several methodologies and ways that we look at putting together programs for specific key employees to help them feel like they've got a stake in the outcome and also a reason to stick around if a headhunter calls, and even to stay with the company past the point of a potential sale or transition so that the new owner has the best chance of the business succeeding after you're gone. Fourth area we hear a lot about is, how do I get out of being the hub? Now, what do we mean by the hub? Well, look at the illustration of the bicycle wheel. The hub is the middle part, you know, the part that goes around the fastest. That's what we find most business owners run their business like. They're at the center of everything and they're going around the fastest. The bigger their business gets, the faster they go. And they're risking not only burnout, but they're risking devaluing their business, because if the business relies solely on you as the centerpiece of the hub of the business, then what happens when you want to leave the business, or what happens if you do leave the business, or what happens if you die or something happens to you? Your business value collapses just like the wheel would without a hub. So it's very important to understand early on how to not get caught in the hub trap and how to move from being that hub towards something even more valuable to your business. That sets up the next slide, which we call, how do you transfer to your new role as the chief value builder? When you take on the role of a chief value builder, you're really operating as the owner of your asset, your business. Now, the owner's job of an asset is to make the most of that asset, increase its value, increase the potential payout down the road, take the risks out of it. And these are things that only you can do as the chief value builder of your business. So we teach business owners how to move from being the overtime president to the part-time chief value officer so that they can afford to build the value and someday sell their business or transfer it to insiders and have enough cash flow so they can be bought out of their business interest. Number 6 is, how do I cut the IRS? We approach a lot of businesses and business owners and they tell us how they want to transfer or sell the business and how they're structured. And the problem is nobody's ever told them they're going to be paying 2 taxes on that transaction. As an example, if you want to transfer your business and an inside employee wants to buy it from you and you give them bonuses so that they can buy the business from you, you're paying more than 2 taxes in that transaction. It's very expensive to a business. If you're set up in a certain type of an entity approach and you end up selling your business, and you may pay 2 taxes on that particular type of a sale, generally because most businesses of small to mid-size are sold for assets, not for stock. It's something you need to know about, it's something you need to learn about, and it's something that we'll cover further in our series. Number 7 is, how can I protect what I've built? We talk to a lot of business owners and they say, I've just got this feeling that I've built this great house, and every night I go to sleep and I feel like I might have left a window open and somebody's going to come in and take everything out of my house. Well, if you don't take steps to protect the assets that you've built up, the buildings that you might own outside of your business, your cash assets, your residence, your business itself, if you don't take steps to plan for those, they could be taken away from you, and they are. Just about every day there are a new slew of lawsuits from people who failed to protect their assets. And the goal is to build protection around your various assets so that it's very unattractive to someone who's attacking you to attach those assets. Number 8, just doesn't have to happen. The question is, what's my survivor's escape plan or my business continuity plan? If anything happens to me between now and the time I want to sell my business while I have full control, what happens if anything happens to me? What happens to my spouse who now has to try to sell the business that I've built up, and he or she has no way of knowing how to manage the business, much less sell it? It can be a huge problem, and with a little bit of forethought, we can create scenarios where a sale happens for fair market value without much thought behind it, and people know exactly what your intentions were, and that information can go a very long way should anything happen along the way towards a sale or transfer. Number 9 is, how do I start getting my company ready for sale? And I liken it to this overstuffed closet graphic we have down here. There's a lot of stuff in the closet. There's a lot of stuff in your file cabinets, in your minutes, in your corporate records, maybe even some things that it should have been dealt with a long time ago. The problem is you've got to start looking at your business as a buyer would, because a buyer will find that stuff as they start going through your closet. And if they find it, it could be 6 months into a due diligence process when everything else seems fine, and it can derail a sale at the last minute. So it's important to get books and records audited, up to date, make sure that everything looks good, you have clean financials and a good story to tell, and you've thought about that in advance. You've got your key people locked in, you've got a business that basically is ready for sale at any given moment. And that's a very important step to start when you're moving towards your eventual sale, exit, or transition. And last is more on a personal note. We hear from a lot of the planning groups that I circulate in that are exit planners all over the country, and they say one of the biggest things that holds people back from selling their business when the timing could have been right is they personally were not ready. They did not have their future thought out. All they can think about is, if I sell the business, there goes my identity, there goes my financial support system, there goes my my alter ego. It's who I was. I'm leaving my baby behind. And we find that it's very important to start thinking about and developing what your activities and what your next part of your life will be like. You know, there are so many new opportunities out there to be of service in so many different ways, and it's important to have that personal mission as you move towards your eventual exit or transition from your business. We've covered these 10 fairly quickly today, I think. This BOSS series, the idea behind it, the acronym, by the way, for BOSS is Business Owner, Situations, and Solutions. And we've put this together so that you have when you have some downtime to work on your business, you can watch these short videos, read the articles that come with them, and work on the checklists that we'll provide as well. We want to do this because we want you to be more in control, better business owner, and ready for the future, whatever happens for you. That's what we do here at BarthCalderon. We'll provide new content every week for the next several weeks. I want to thank you for joining us today on behalf of BarthCalderon Attorneys, where we believe that planning today for all your tomorrows is something very important and a very worthwhile endeavor. Thanks so much for joining us today. I look forward to the next time we get to speak.